Thank you for tuning in for another episode of the Finance Bible podcast.
Before you get into it, please note that nothing in this podcast should ever be taken as personal financial advice.
And if you are seeking financial advice,
please reach out to us as we can direct you to many individuals in the industry. And welcome back to another episode of the Finance Bible podcast, or as Zeke calls it, the Finny Bib at the moment.
The Finny Bib.
The Finny Bib. It is Friday session here in Sydney. It is a sunny afternoon. It is just a good day to get out and about, finally, because we've been locked inside, the rain. Well, I guess we haven't been locked inside. We've been in the rain.
Yeah.
But generally, it's good to finally get some sun on our skin.
Yeah, it's good here. Back home in the Hunter Valley, they're all flooded in. Gilligan Island, or Gilligan Island, whatever you want to call it, is back up and running.
Gilligan Island, is that from the TV show?
Yeah.
It's actually based off the place at home?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, it's a documentary.
No, it's actually a TV show like a while ago, like back in the day.
Yeah, it was a documentary on Gilligan Island.
There we go. Learn something new every day.
Taking the absolute piss.
Well, on that note, we're revisiting one of our most popular podcast episodes, and it's all about superannuation and why super is our best friend 2.0. 2.0.
Very creative name. We had why super is your best friend, and now we've got 2.0 on the end, so that used a lot of brain power. Let's just kick it straight off. Firstly, the tax rate of super. We've already gone through it. We just want to do a more brief version. The other episode was about 30 minutes, a little bit slow.
I think people probably would have got over it within 23 and a half.
That's big call, a waste of 5 minutes. The tax rate in superannuation, one of the most important points. In accumulation phase, from now till preservation, basically 60, 15% tax. In the personal world, you're on 200 grand, you're paying about 48% tax. In super, it's growing. You've got about a 15% tax rate in there on the money it earns. Huge advantage, self-explanatory. Don't need to go too much further into that right now. Transfer balance cap. Tell me about it.
So before we get into that, I think we'll just simplify super for a little bit in case people actually haven't listened to Why Super is Your Best Friend 1, or just Why Super is Your Best Friend, the original. As everyone knows, in Australia here, when you get paid, a portion of your pay goes to what's called your super fund. So you can choose what super fund you're with. There's all these different industry super funds out there who generally are quite similar. Others have higher fees than the others. Others have different investment options than the others. So depending on what you believe in investing wise, you can do your research and figure out who you want to go with. But what you do is you let your employer know who your super's with, and they pay you a percentage. Right now, it's 10.5% of your pay goes into your super fund.
As of about a week ago.
And that is rolling up to 12% by July 2025.
Going up in 0.5% increments every financial year.
Exactly right, Zeke. Thank you for your input there.
That's all right,
that is perfect. That is what I like to hear. But generally, super is a forced savings for retirement. And the problem that a lot of Australians find themselves in, especially in the past, is when they hit 60, which is your preservation age, when you can access your super, there's not enough in there to live off for the next 40 odd years. You're struggling, you're living below your means of what you've been living on your whole working life because your income has dropped off and now you're reliant on your fund. And you haven't put enough work in to that fund over the years to replicate your income.
It's the old she'll be right mentality in Australia. We're a very laid back nation. We always have been.
Yeah.
Majority of us anyway. There's a couple of people out there that are a little bit on the other side, but very laid back. She'll be right. Pay off the home, she'll be right. That's the way it's always been. Unfortunately, that is not the case anymore. Life expectancy.
Yeah, going to talk about life expectancy.
Go for it.
No, mate, you're more about it.
Life expectancy currently has gone up quite a bit. So once you read about the 40-year-old mark, you've surpassed the major hindering aspects of life expectancy calculation. Hindering. So, a lot of people unfortunately pass away at birth or between 0 and 5 years old from issues. So that portion of the population has a very large effect on the average life expectancy because they're bringing it down pretty rapidly if you're dying before 5 years old. So once you reach about 40 years old, you've surpassed that. getting your license, a lot of teenagers pass away and crash and die, unfortunately. Your life expectancy actually starts going up on average. So it gets to about 79 for males and about 80 for females. So it's a really interesting calculation. It used to not be that high, and you wouldn't have to worry about it. Now, the life expectancy for a male is about 89 when they reach about that 40 mark. For a female, it's more like 90, or it's in that range within a few years for both of them. But females generally tend to live a year or two longer than males because we're a bit silly sometimes.
But from that, like, you at least have around 30 years that you need to fund your life after your working life. And for a lot of people, it's their super fund is funding their life. And that's what everyone has grown up believing in school and university and just general education, that you don't have to worry about retirement during your working years because your super is going to be there at the end of the day. But that's not the case. The case is you're not going to have enough money producing from your super that's going to replicate your income. And you're going to have to live below your means, like I mentioned earlier. This is why super is extremely important. And it's more important that during your working years, you put your super to work. So that might be making extra contributions. That might be leveraging into an asset such as an investment property in your super. There's a lot of different ways you can do it. But the main point is during your working years, you must think about your super and not just think about it 5 years before retirement.
The pension used to pay a really good portion of money to retirees. And the life expectancy back in the day, we're talking back in the 1900s, the pension used to pay well. They'd live until in their 60s. They wouldn't have to worry about having a large amount of superannuation because they're dying pretty quick. Now you've got to support you and your family for 30 years without an income. And now the pension age, by the way, is about 67 for a majority of people in Australia today.
And a lot of people get confused that 67 is the age you can access your super, when that's actually 60, but you can access pension when you're 67 if you qualify for it.
Which a lot of people nowadays won't qualify for. The
and you don't want to.
Yeah, if you're qualifying for the pension, then you're not really going to have a great life in retirement. I mean, can you live off 30 grand a year?
Unless they've got a lot of personal assets, but generally, it's not the case.
Now, something to just quickly talk about, which a lot of people don't really know, or they could get some extra knowledge from one extremely intelligent man who's made an absolute killing. He's built schools for the disadvantaged, come here from nothing, first generation immigrant. He actually went to America from Cuba.
Yeah, right.
Christian Armando Perez.
AKA Pitbull.
Mr. Worldwide, 305. Great quote. One of the most motivational people in the world. Highly recommend watching his motivational videos or his speeches.
I do hear him quite early in the morning before we go to the gym.
Well, you've got to get up and get into
from
it.
Your room.
Yeah, he's good. He gets you going. He likes to say, learn from the past, live for the moment, build for the future. Learn from the past.
Yep.
Mistakes, whatever's happened.
Regrets.
Success.
If any.
Live for the moment. Enjoy today. Enjoy it. Build for the future. So invest, super.
Yeah, that's it.
All of that. If you actually are a fan of Pitt or Christina Aguilera, you'll know the song Feel This Moment. He actually has a quote in that song. I see the future, but I live for the moment. Makes sense, don't it? Then he goes on to say, I make dollars, I mean billions. I'm a genius, I mean brilliant.
So when you're saying these, you're literally staring down my eyes. It's quite uncomfortable. It's great though. I love really good quotes.
Basically, you just got to live.
Unreal.
You got to see the future. You got to live for the moment.
It all relates to personal finance and building wealth and everyday life.
Making dollars, I mean billions. He's a genius, I mean brilliant. You got to do it.
Is that another quote? But in super, there is a thing what's called a transfer balance cap, and we're coming back to it now because we mentioned it earlier. But what that is, in your super fund, more predominantly a self-managed super fund, you can have per individual $1.7 million worth of an asset base. For a couple, it's $3.4 million worth. And whatever income that asset generates up to those caps is all tax-free income. So for example, if we have $3.4 million worth of an asset in your super, paying ourselves around 3.5% return, that will give us $119,000 per year tax-free income from your super. And this is through your self-managed super fund. So bit different to your industry super fund, as the fund like Australian Super, Aware Super, Host Plus, whatever you may be in, they invest your funds for you and kind of look after it in a way for yourself. And how industry super funds work with fee structure is a sliding basis. So the higher your balance in your industry fund, the higher the fees you're paying. So you can figure it out yourself. When you're getting to a high balance of north of $200,000 in your industry fund, it gets quite expensive. So that's when it's cheaper to look towards a self-managed fund, because in an SMSF, it's a fixed fee structure. So depending on your balance, it doesn't change the fee-wise. And the only difference is it's self-managed. So you manage it for yourself, or you get financial institutions to manage it for you, which a lot of them out there do, and that's part of their role. And that's where you can invest in properties. And why we choose 3.5% as a figure to what we can figure out what our asset base will pay us. The average return on the ASX, the average dividend return, the rental market, the rental yield, etc. So property itself returns roughly 3 to 5% historically. Stocks, the ASX, roughly 3 to 4% as well. Obviously, in the last 12 to 24 months, everything has taken quite a big dip. What we're looking at yesterday, Spaceship, one of the Universal
down
portfolio.
about 40%.
Yeah.
So but the dividends are still paid at about 4%.
Yeah, so 3.5%, it's a conservative figure. If you're doing your own calculations, I would recommend chucking in 3.5%, just, because conservative is better than over-promising everything.
Yeah, we used to run at 4%, or we like to anyway, but with the way the market's going right now, dividends are on the come down. They have been for a few years. Property, the value of the actual property itself is going up really quick in today's market, or has gone up really quick in the last 20 months. So the rental yield, technically speaking, is a bit lower than what it has been. The next thing is the capital gains tax. The difference in your personal world versus your super world is basically super is taxed at 15%. We already know that. Personal it depends on your tax bracket. Generally, it's about 30% to 48%. So if you're getting $100 of capital gains, you get $100 added on to your taxable income in your personal world. At 30% is $30. In super, that $100 is $15 of tax. In personal world, if you hold an asset for 12 months, you get a 50% capital gains tax reduction, meaning basically you only get assessed on 50% of the gains. So you'd get $50 added to your personal tax rate, which at 30% is still about $15. Whereas in super, after 12 months, you get a 33% discount on the capital gains tax, meaning instead of getting hit with $15 of capital gains, you get hit with $10 of capital gains. Another big part of superannuation is salary sacrifice, the concessional cap, the non-concessional cap, and the carry forward rules. You can salary sacrifice, which means basically you put your pre-tax dollars before it's paid to you into super. For example, you might do $20 a week. Let's say you're 20 years old, you've got 10 grand in super, you do $20 a week pre-tax dollars into your super fund. Not only is that $20 a week you're not paying tax on or not going to your assessable income, it's $20 a week that can build up, compounding at 7% until preservation age of 60. You get a total amount of about 390 grand. Of that, only 41,000 is your $20 a week. The other 340 grand-ish is
the interest. Which is insane.
Salary sacrifice is a great option. It can make a huge difference in terms of retirement. 400 grand from $20 a week at a young age. Good days, good times. And I mean, the 30% that you'd be saving on the tax as well.
And that's 400 adding on to what your super balance will be at retirement anyway. So it's not just 40, it's added, which is happy days.
On top of that, there is a limit to how much salary sacrifice you can do, or that actually aids you in terms of your personal tax benefits. So the concessional cap, concessional being how much you can claim as a tax deduction personally, is 27.5 grand per year. So if your employer's super guarantee contribution is 20 grand per year, then you can only salary sacrifice or contribute an additional 7.5 grand per year that actually aids you in tax. The rest that you contribute is called a non-concessional contribution. You can do $110,000 worth per year, generally speaking. that doesn't aid you in tax. It just goes to your super. It's still included as assessable income.
And lastly, with that, there's the rule called the carry forward rule. So the carry forward rule allows you to rewind the clock and go back in time for the last 5 years and claim that missing contributions. So let's just say for the last 5 years, you've been putting in $20,000 into your super fund. So what that means is each year we can still bridge the gap by $7,500, like Zeke said. So what that means, 5 years times 7.5, that means we can contribute an extra $37,500 to your fund, and that will aid you tax time as well. So that's a tax deduction because you're reaching the cap there. So that's what the carry forward rule is. It's extremely beneficial for those who have been forgetting to contribute to their super, self-employed individuals who are focusing on their business in the early stages. It's just an option to have.
The thing to take into account with that rule is only a temporary rule. It's coming to an end in about 2023/2024. So you can only do it up until that year. If you're one of our older listeners and you're coming up to basically that kind of period, it may be worth reaching out to your advisor or accountant to look into that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly right. But yeah, you can see that from this podcast, we have touched on a few things which we spoke about in Why Super is Your Best Friend original, the OG. But this one, we just want to get the point across that super is extremely important with wealth creation and helping you look after yourself, your family, and retirement when we stop work. If any of the points you're still a bit questionable about and doesn't make too much sense, always reach out to us. Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. I think we're on most of the social media platforms now anyway, but reach out to us. We'll give you a response. Happy to chat, give you a hand, or even refer you to anyone else in the industry who we think you may benefit from. But yeah, click that subscribe button. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, on a few others, as you said the other day.
LinkedIn, Instagram, and give us a 5-star rating.
Get that rating button up. Let's go. Let's go. Yeah, let's go. Come on. Let's go.
Okay. We'll catch you all next week and leave it at exactly that.